Chapter 9 PJ. Ian and Kendra turn around and stare at me like a fish, eyes wide, mouths open. Finally, Kendra chokes out, "Excuse me?" "Zombies," I repeat. I can't really see through the window over Kendra's huge hair, but what I catch, stumbling figures, outstretched arms, deep moaning, the sudden spike in my heart rate and breathing, all points to zombies. Kendra's mouth snaps open and shut a few times before she declares, "That's ridiculous." "I don't know," says Ian. I come up behind Ian and my skin crawls. My stomach churns. I know I'm right. Look at them. Only a handful of them are close enough to see in the moonlight, but off in the trees there are more, slouching into view like the shadows just coughed them up. The visible ones are horrible, bony, grayish-green things wrapped in ruined hiking clothes, flannel and boots and fur-colored jackets. Their arms reach stiffly out straight ahead, their fingers clasping and unclasping. The throaty moans have gone from soft and creepy to overwhelming, a great big chorus of hungry death rattles. The closer they get, the more violent they sound, going from sighing to moaning to snarling and growling. My hands nearly tear my pocket open trying to yank my camera out. It's a race against time. Can I film this before I start having a full-on panic attack? And I win, pulling up my handheld and holding down the record button hard. Ian and Kendra jump at the beep and then stare wide-eyed into the glowing screen as I zoom in on one of them, a skinny woman with wide, white eyes and not much left in the way of lips. The pounding in my head and chest die away. My breathing slows, and I can focus on things for the first time since we were attacked by the lynx. "We've come across some strange creatures," I whisper into the camera, "which appear to be. We're pretty sure they're..." It's like the woman, the thing, hears me because those white eyes turn and focus right on the lens of my camera. Her yellow teeth part and she lets out a harsh, rasping growl. "They're zombies," I say. No question. I'm filming a zombie. "They're not... That's a ridiculous word," whispers Kendra between sharp breaths. "What do we do?" Ian shouts, his hands tearing through his hair. I pan over the crowd of zombies, taking in the sheer number of them. There are definitely more than 6, more like 14 or 15 that I can see. Not all of them are in the same state of decay. Some are just gray-skinned with sunken eyes, while others are almost like walking bones wrapped in yellowish canvas. But they're all dusty, dry, covered in cobwebs, leaves, dirt, the kind of stuff you pick up when you drag yourself through the woods all day. "God, it's just like the movies," I whisper to myself. "This is like Night of the Living Dead Redux." "Oh man, that's it," says Ian, grinning like an idiot at Kendra then at me. "This kid knows what's going on. He's an expert. PJ, tell us about zombies." "Huh?" I ask, not really paying attention. Whoa, look at that one. How's it moaning without a lower jaw? "Come on, PJ, help us out." Ian jumps in front of my lens, forcing me to look up at his sweaty face. "You've watched all those scary movies. What do we need to know?" Reciting things about movies, this I can do. My mind is a blur of black and white stills, of wide angles and worm's eye view shots and bad old film posters with blood-dripping font on the title. But through it all, I managed to grab the vital information and spit it out. "Zombies are walking dead people," I say. "They come back from the grave because of radiation, or space dust, or black magic, or a virus. It depends on the movie." What else? What else? It's hard to concentrate with Ian taking up my shot. They're mindless, but they're strong, and some come in serious numbers, so it's tough to fight them off. Usually, it's easier to outrun them. "What do they want?" asks Ian. "They want to eat us," I say, and I can hear the fear spread across his face. Got it on camera, too. Fantastic. They're cannibals. No, not cannibals. They're not human, so it's not really cannibalism, but they devour people alive. Wait, or is it brains? Sometimes they only eat brains. But usually in those movies, they yell, brains, a lot. And these ones aren't. At least not yet. I think we can safely say that both options are problematic, shouts Kendra. Ian shakes his head like he's forcing the idea out of his mind. How do we stop them? Shoot them in the head, I say. A line from the movies themselves comes to mind. Destroy the brain, kill the ghoul. Okay, says Ian. He steps back with his face bunched in contemplation, like he needs room to think. We don't have guns. Maybe if we hit them really hard, does that work? I don't know. I can't remember. Guys! Gasps Kendra from the window. They're getting closer! I push Ian aside and keep filming out of the window. She's right. For slow-moving creatures, they're gaining ground surprisingly quickly. That's how it always is in the movies. You think you're safe, and then they're right on top of you. Up close, we can see every wrinkle in their mottled skin, every white grub writhing in their matted hair. As I pan across the approaching crowd, each individual corpse stands out disgustingly in the harsh eye of the camera, their horrible features incredibly detailed. A large, muscular zombie moans at us, and when he turns his head, the light from the windows reveals that half of his face has rotted away. One skinny zombie in a scout has a huge antique camera hanging from his... This never crossed my mind when I woke up this morning. The list my parents gave me has a million things on it, and none of them say, whatever you do, don't get eaten by corpses. What do we do? Says Kendra, her voice sharp with panic. We can't. They're going to. What do we do? Ian stands at the window, scratching his head so hard he might hit his skull, saying, over and over again. The memory of the dead thing has wiped his mind clean. The more I stare out at these creatures, the more bad movies come back to me. Ian's right. I've done my homework here. Maybe I was paying more attention to the camera work in Citizen Kane than the zombie behavior in Tombs of the Blind Dead, but if anyone's an expert in our current predicament, it's me. They'll beat the door down fast if we don't act, I say, saying anything I can remember from the movies. They don't have any powers, like vampires or whatever, but they just keep coming and they have strength in numbers. Vampires aren't real, starts Kendra, shaking her head. We know, okay? Yells Ian. None of this is real. That doesn't matter. Whatever's out there is coming for us. We need to do something. Anything. Wow, is this how I sound when I'm having an episode? I'm expecting Kendra to flip out, but she just nods, blinks, nods harder. What do we have that we can use to barricade the door? What about in the kitchen? Ian darts in and out of the room. There's a chair we could jam the knob with, but nothing heavy, no fridge. You get the chair, she says. Are there any weapons here? My brain spits up an image from one of the movies. A lone warrior waving a burning bundle of sticks at a zombie, the creature cowering in fear. Kendra, can you make us a torch with some of that firewood? Maybe, she says. We need something flammable, though. There's some bug spray in my bag, I call out, and some gauze. Wrap the gauze around one end of the wood, soak it, and set it on fire. You brought gauze? Asks Ian as he shoves the back of a small metal chair under the knob of the door. While my parents were worried I might get cut or scraped during, a slapping sound sends us all a foot in the air, and my camera flying out of my hands, clattering across the floor. Our eyes flick toward the window. A zombie, old, withered, bones covered with a slight draping of greenish rot, stares hungrily back at us. He pounds a feeble hand against the glass and hisses between his yellow teeth. He looks too weak, too wasted away to break the glass, but he's smaller than the others. The big one with half a face could easily smash his way through that window. That's when the cold fear takes me, prickles my veins, splashes cold water on my face, fires that familiar tightness through my chest and throat. Because before, These creatures were footage. Footage from a late-night spook flick, maybe, but just footage, not real without lighting and set and special effects. And now, there's one right outside the window, trying to beat its way in. It's like the lynx, only worse. It's an army of lynxes, and they can't be killed, not like normal creatures. We'll talk later, Ian says. Totally, I choke out. Kendra wraps a white bulb of bandages around one end of a piece of firewood and then hits it with bug spray until it's soaked. She shoves the one end into the fire, and with a whoomp, it goes up, creating a rippling flame that gives off black smoke that stings my eyes and nostrils. I dive for my camera, hoping that maybe if I turn it back on, start filming this, it'll all become a movie again, and I won't feel like I'm drowning in a freezing ocean. There's a knock at the door. No, not a knock, a pound. Then it's joined by another, and another. And soon there's a constant drumbeat of fists slamming against the wooden door. The window is full of faces, sunken-eyed and yellow-toothed, twisted in rage. Slowly, the doorknob wiggles, and the chair makes an ugly scraping noise against the floor as the door pushes in inch by inch. Hands, gray and dirty, make their way around the edges, poking into the cabin. "Here they come!" screams Ian. Ian and I put our backs against the door, shoving hard. The gray fingers catch between the door and the wall, but there are no cries of pain, just more hungry moaning. The heels of my sneakers dig hard into the floor, but our barricade isn't working. Every pounding hand sends a shudder down my back. For a second, the whole thing goes quiet in my head, and everything seems still, surreal, like it's not really happening. There's Kendra Wright, Queen Brain, waving a torch at the window like some Transylvanian villager. There's Ian, my best friend, screaming something I can't really hear as he puts his shoulder into the door. There's the cabin full of light, literally vibrating with the pressure of dozens of dead hands. It's a dream. Has to be. I mean, stuck in a cabin in the woods, attacked by zombies, what an obvious nightmare. Something this horrible can't be real. In a second, someone will say my name, and I'll wake up on the bus to find out we've only just arrived at Homeroom Earth, and all of this will be forgotten in an instant. Glass shatters, and masses of frantic hands come reaching in through the window, grasping at Kendra. She waves the torch at them, but they don't seem to notice, even when the flame glances on their skin and smokes it black. The chair wedged under the doorknob digs trenches into the floor with each shove and pound. This is no dream. This isn't a horror movie. It's a horror reality. I'm here, and so are they. "What are we going to do now?" shouts Kendra. She's resorted to stabbing the lit end of the torch into the wriggling hands over and over. "PJ!" screams Ian. "If you have any clue what to do next, now's the time!" An arm has snaked its way around the edge of the door, the hand clawing at Ian's t-shirt. He wriggles out of its grasp just as a pair of demon eyes appears at the crack between the door and the wall. I scan the room and land on the square of darkness in the floor. "The cellar!" I shout. "Get in the cellar! We can hide down there!" "There's a skull in the cellar!" Ian responds. "But it's not moving!" I yell. "They won't be able to find us down there!" I'm not much of a fighter, but I know a thing or two about running away. Kendra grabs her backpack and leaps down into the cellar, and I somehow manage to hobble down the stairs without twisting my ankle any further. And yes, there's the skull they mentioned on top of a pile of bones, in the middle of some weird witchy design, lit orange by Kendra's torch. That's the least of our worries right now. Ian comes flying down last, grabbing the edge of the trapdoor and yanking it shut with a dusty, echoing boom! And now it's us three, huddled together around the light of the noxious-smelling torch, making the room flicker like an old film reel. Our only company is the human skull in the middle of an evil symbol, staring up at us with hollow eyes and a toothy grin, laughing at what should be a goofy Halloween story, but instead is life or death. "Quiet," whispers Kendra. Above, there's the muffled thump of eager hands, and then, slowly, the beating stops. The occasional creak, the crackle of the torch is all we hear. "Do you think they know we're down here?" whispers Ian. "They saw us," Kendra mumbles. "They must have." The words shoot electricity through my heart, down my arms and hands. "Maybe their eyes don't work well," he says. "Some of them don't have eyes," whispers Kendra. A boom makes us jump, followed by a clatter over our heads, the chair flying across the room. A sickening scrape shakes the ceiling over us, the door being shoved open. Something not quite like a person lets out a long, sad moan. Quiet. Then, thump, thump, thump. Footsteps, heavy and slow, enter the room, sending tiny showers of dust floating down from the floorboards over our heads. My hand covers my mouth instinctively. No sneezing, no coughing. Not now. Each step sounds like the ticking of a clock counting down our doom. Behind the first set of feet, more footsteps follow, just as heavy, just as deliberate. Forget how many of them I could see in those woods. Between the number of feet and my imagination, there are hundreds up there, thousands, a million hungry monsters. A moan, raspy but powerful, cuts through the silence. My arms feel pinched, and I look down to see Ian clutching one, Kendra the other, with both hands. Normally it would hurt, maybe even leave a bruise, but my body is so tense right now that I can barely register any pain, not even in my messed up ankle. Every inch of me is cold and numb. I don't think I'm breathing. Finally, we hear the feet move over the trapdoor, and all three of us exhale a little. The picture my mind was painting, the square of light opening, withered hands pulling at the door, a set of milky eyes and dirt-covered teeth appearing in our view, melts away. The footsteps stop. Stillness like this is impossible. Anyone, no matter how poised, shifts their weight or moves their feet around a little, but these things don't. The quiet takes forever, and with each second I grow a little more hopeful. Maybe they'll leave. Maybe they are that dumb that they think we've just disappeared. Maybe they're blind and they never saw us in the first place. I don't know. This is my first day as a zombie expert, so I'm playing this by ear. "I think," says Ian very softly, "I think we're okay down here." There's a shuffle and another moan. Directly behind us. Kendra whips the torch around, and there, climbing out of the dirt floor of the cellar, is a chubby man in a blood-stained t-shirt, the gaping hole in his cheek revealing a line of white molars. He rises out of the ground, pieces of dirt falling out of his hair and mouth until he's fully on his feet. I try to come up with a plan, but when I open my mouth, horror pulsates up into my throat, and I scream, "We're all gonna die!" His clouded eyes fix on us, and the thing stretches his filthy hands out, grasping at our faces. He opens his mouth, but any snarl or moan he might make is lost in the deafening scream that comes out of Kendra. The end.